Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips and pointers on how to deal with those nurses that lack boundaries and come off as very toxic in the workplace. Stay tuned because you definitely don't want to miss out on this. One of the biggest defeaters in our career field and our choice is that we have to deal with all types of personalities. And some of those personalities are very toxic, some of them can clash, and all of that makes for a very negative environment to work in, and sometimes even toxic. So how do you deal with it? So I'm a new nurse and I am learning all about the nurses eat their young. But regardless if you are a new nurse or you're a veteran nurse, a lot of nurses still deal with it. So how do we combat it? The first thing I want to tell you is that it literally and really depends on where you work. Not only does where you work matters, who your supervisor is makes the biggest difference, hands down. If your supervisor is also toxic, then you might want to consider getting out of there. But the reason I say your supervisor is the most important is because that is the person that you want to be able to go to and feel comfortable going to about this situation happening. One of the first things I did when I was encountered with a toxic nurse who had no boundaries was I had to sit back and really evaluate, how can I handle this manner on my own? And so I've tried the least invasive measures before taking it to my supervisor. Because remember, until you really know the place that you work with, you really want to tread lightly on bringing issues to the supervisor, especially before you sit down and figure out if you can tackle this issue on your own. Let's say you do work in a place where the supervisor is so hands-off, or you just don't feel comfortable bringing it to the supervisor. Sit down and evaluate how you can handle the issue on your own. Are you able to avoid this nurse? Can you bring it up to this nurse? Do you ever see them outside of work, or do they contact you outside of work to where you can say, hey, I don't like this type of behavior from you. Can you stop? Whatever you can do on your own will help things go smoother, especially if you don't have to bring it to the supervisor and things work out. The third thing I did was I talked it over with friends and family, especially if you have people that are in the nursing field or in the healthcare field in general. You can talk to them and see, hey, what would you do in my shoes? Worst case scenario, there are tons of Facebook groups, social media groups that support healthcare workers. You can even mention it in one of those groups and get thousands of opinions and feedback on how you can handle the issue. So there is support out there. Lastly, I want to leave you with this. Please don't let it go under the rug for too long. When I say too long, that means you are bringing it home. You're constantly talking about it to your spouse, to your loved one, rethinking the issue in your head on a constant basis. Please, 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 if you don't know what to do, I would advise bringing it to your supervisor first and let the chips fall where they may. I mean, heck, you're a nurse, you can find a job anywhere, right? So let it be known that you are having this issue with this nurse and see what the supervisor does about it, especially if you don't feel comfortable bringing it up to the nurse, or there's no real way for you to have a one-on-one with that nurse. Depends on the setting you work with. For me, I'm home care, so I don't see the other nurses a lot of times, so I have to bring it up to the agency. Sometimes if you give your number to another nurse when you're home care, that could lead to a lot of issues. So definitely if you're in the home care setting, I would bring it up to the agency first. That's almost a no-brainer. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you do in terms of handling nurses that have no boundaries or are toxic to the workplace environment? I want to hear from you. Thanks again for watching.